The morning air was cold and heavy, the kind that made people walk faster and keep their heads down. Outside a tall glass building in the center of the city, people moved like shadows. Cars stopped, doors opened, doors closed. Shoes clicked on the ground. No one slowed down. Near the main gate stood a small girl. She could not have been more than 7 years old. Her clothes were clean but old, and her shoes were worn thin at the front. She held a small bag against her chest with both hands, as if it was the only thing keeping her steady. Inside the bag was a folded paper and a faded photograph. She had been standing there since early morning, every few minutes. She looked up at the tall building, squinting as sunlight bounced off the glass. The building seemed endless to her, like it touched the sky. She had never been inside, but she believed something important was hidden there. Something connected to her mother. People passed her without a second glance. Some noticed her and frowned. Others whispered to each other. A few looked uncomfortable and turned away. No one stopped. A security guard near the gate noticed her and walked over. "Where are your parents?" he asked, trying to sound firm but not unkind. The girl lifted her face. Her eyes were big and serious, far older than her age. "I'm waiting," she said. "Waiting for who?" She thought for a moment. For the truth, the guard did not know what to say to that. He sighed and told her she could not stand there all day. She nodded but did not move. When he stepped away, she stayed right where she was. As the morning grew busier, a black luxury car slowed as it approached the gate. People around straightened their backs. The car stopped, and a driver rushed out to open the back door. The man who stepped out was tall, well-dressed, and serious-looking. His face was calm but distant, as if his mind was always somewhere else. He owned the building, the company inside it, and many others like it. To the world, he was known as a powerful billionaire who never wasted time. That morning, his phone was pressed to his ear. "No, move the meeting," he said quietly. "I don't care how. Just make it happen." He began walking toward the entrance, not looking where he was going. The girl took a step back. Then another, but her foot caught on the edge of the pavement. She stumbled forward and bumped into him. The sound was small, but everything stopped. The man looked down, surprised. The girl froze, her hands tightening around her bag. People gasped. The security guards rushed over. "Get her away," one of them said. The man raised his hand slowly. "Wait," the girl looked up at him. Her voice shook, but she forced the words out. "Please," she said. "I need help." Security reached for her arm, but the man spoke again. "Let her speak." There was something in her eyes that made him pause. Not fear, not begging. Something steady and heavy. "What are you doing here?" he asked. She took a deep breath. "My mother worked here," she said. "She never came home." The noise around them faded. The man felt a strange tightness in his chest. "That was a long time ago," he replied carefully. "She disappeared," the girl said. "Everyone says she left us, but she didn't." "How do you know?" The girl reached into her bag and pulled out the photograph. It was old and slightly torn at the edges. She held it up with both hands. "My mother," she said. The man took the photo. His fingers stilled. He had seen that face before. Years ago. His mind filled with memories he had buried under contracts and deadlines. A woman standing in a hallway, holding files close to her chest. A serious expression. A quiet voice that did not tremble even when challenged. The security guards waited for him to speak. "What's your name?" he asked the girl. She shook her head. "Names don't matter. Finding her does." He handed the photo back slowly. "Where have you been staying?" "With my aunt," she said. "She says I should forget, but I can't." Something inside him shifted. He did not know why this moment felt heavier than million-dollar deals or courtroom battles. Maybe it was the way the girl stood alone in the cold, or the way she spoke as if she had been waiting all her life. He turned to the head of security. "Make sure she's safe," he said, "and find someone from social services. Do it properly." The girl's face tightened. "You're not sending me away, are you?" "No," he said quietly. "I'm making sure you're protected." She studied his face. searching for a lie. Then she nodded. As she was guided gently away, she turned back once. "Please," she said, "don't forget her." The words followed him inside the building. All day, he could not focus. Meetings blurred together. Numbers lost meaning. The photos stayed in his mind. Late that afternoon, he stood alone in his office and stared out at the city. He pressed a button on his desk. "I want a file," he said. From years ago, a woman who worked in accounting, she vanished. Quietly. There was a pause on the other end of the line. "That file was closed," came the reply. "Open it," he said. When the call ended, he sat down slowly. Outside, the city kept moving. Inside, a story long buried had begun to wake, and somewhere nearby, a small girl waited, holding on to hope with everything she had. The next morning, the girl woke to the sound of birds and distant traffic, but her mind was not at peace. She remembered the towering building from yesterday, the man with the serious face, and the words she had spoken to him. Somehow she felt that her life had shifted. Something had started, though she did not yet know what it was. Her aunt had gone to work, leaving her alone in the small apartment. The room smelled faintly of soap and old wood. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains. She sat on the edge of the bed, holding her small bag tightly. Inside, the photograph of her mother pressed against her chest, constant reminder of her purpose. She knew she could not stay in one place. If she waited too long, her mother's memory might fade again, lost in shadows of time. She had to act. But the question was how. Meanwhile, inside the skyscraper, the billionaire could not stop thinking about the girl. He had arranged for her to be taken to a safe place, but he found himself pacing his office. The photo she had shown him was from decades ago, and yet it felt fresh, immediate. The woman in the photograph was someone he had known. Someone whose absence had left a quiet ache in his life. He called his assistant, a reliable and practical person who had worked with him for years. "I need everything about the woman who disappeared from our office," he said. "No detail is too small." The assistant hesitated. "Sir, the records are old. Some of them were archived and not digitized. It may take time." "Do it anyway," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I want to know where she went and why." As the assistant started gathering papers, the man turned to the window and looked down at the city below. People hurried by, unaware of the search for a story that had long been forgotten but was suddenly urgent. Hours passed. The girl wandered through the small streets near her aunt's home. She avoided the main roads, sticking to alleyways and quiet corners. She did not know where she was going, only that she could feel a pull, a sense that her mother's presence was somewhere near. She paused at a small park, watching children play. Their laughter was sharp and bright, a sound she remembered from a time before things became lonely. She felt a pang in her heart. She wanted to be one of those children, carefree and safe. Odd, but she had to keep moving. Back in the building, the billionaire's assistant brought him a folder. It was yellowed with age, the corners soft from years of handling. Inside were reports, photographs, and personal notes about the woman the girl had claimed was her mother. He flipped through them carefully, each page stirring memories he had tried to bury. There were descriptions of her work, her dedication, and a quiet strength that had impressed everyone. And then there were documents indicating that she had disappeared without warning, leaving questions that had never been answered. The billionaire sat back, the folder on his lap. He realized that this search was not just about business or responsibility. It was personal. Somehow, the girl had reminded him of a life he had almost forgotten. The sense of loss he had carried for years became sharper, more immediate. He needed to find answers. Meanwhile, the girl's steps took her to the edge of the city. She stopped at a small bookstore, the kind with books stacked in every corner. She went inside, drawn by the quiet smell of paper and ink. Behind the counter, an older man smiled gently. "Looking for anything special?" he asked. She shook her head. "I'm looking for someone," she said. "Someone who used to be here. I think she might have left something behind." The man raised an eyebrow. "And who would that be?" "My mother," she said simply. "She worked here a long time ago." The man's expression softened. Ah, yes, I remember. She was kind, quiet, and always helping people find the right books. She stopped coming one day, didn't she? The girl nodded, her heart quickening. Do you know where she went? The man shook his head. No one knows. Some say she left because of trouble at home. Others say she had opportunities elsewhere. I can tell you one thing, she left nothing behind except memories. The girl's hands tightened around her bag. I need to find her, she said. I need to know what happened. The man sighed. Sometimes the people we search for are closer than we think. And sometimes they are farther away than we can imagine. She left the bookstore with a sense of both hope and frustration. The city stretched endlessly before her. Every street could lead to answers or dead ends. But she did not give up. She walked, stopping occasionally to look at faces in the crowd, wondering if any of them carried a memory of her mother. Back in the office, the billionaire had called a few people he trusted. I want anyone who remembers her to meet me, he said. We need to find out what really happened. And we need to do it carefully. People began to arrive, former employees, old friends, and even a few distant relatives. They spoke in hushed tones, sharing memories and piecing together fragments of a life that had disappeared. Each detail was small, but significant. Every recollection brought the man closer to understanding, closer to the truth he had avoided for years. Hours turned into evening. The girl returned to her temporary safe place, tired but determined. She reviewed the photograph once more, tracing her mother's face with her small fingers. I will find you, she whispered, no matter what it takes. The billionaire sat in his office, the city lights flickering below. He thought about the small girl who had appeared at his gate. He thought about the woman in the photograph and the life that had vanished. Something inside him had shifted. He realized that the past was not just a memory. It was a puzzle, and he was determined to solve it. That night, both the girl and the man slept with questions in their minds and a quiet hope in their hearts. One sought answers for a lost mother. The other sought closure for a mystery that had haunted him for years. They were connected by a story neither fully understood yet, a story that would change both their lives forever. The next morning, the city seemed quieter to the girl, as if it too was waiting for something to happen. She left the small apartment early, carrying her bag close to her chest. She had not slept well, dreams filled with shadows of a woman she barely remembered, but whose presence felt as real as the sun on her face. She walked slowly, taking the street she knew best, but her eyes wandered constantly. Every corner, every window, every passerby became a possibility. She imagined her mother walking somewhere nearby, unaware that her daughter was searching for her with every step. Meanwhile, inside the tall glass building, the billionaire had spent the night going over old documents. Each page seemed to speak to him, reminding him of promises he had once made to himself and people he had lost touch with. There were letters from employees, thank you notes, photographs, and reports. One letter in particular caught his eye. It was from the woman in the photograph, written in her careful, thoughtful handwriting. It spoke of dedication, of integrity, and of a desire to make a difference. It was brief, but powerful. He had read it dozens of times, yet it still made him pause. He picked up the phone. Get me anyone who might know her whereabouts, he said. I don't care how obscure. I need answers today. Hours later, a list of names arrived. They were old contacts, people who had known her personally or professionally. He started calling them one by one. Each conversation brought pieces of a puzzle he hadn't realized he was desperate to solve. A former coworker remembered her laughing softly in the office corridor. A retired receptionist spoke of her dedication and gentle manner. And then, someone mentioned a small town far from the city, a place she had often spoken about wanting to visit. The girl, aware of the billionaire's efforts, had wandered into a crowded market. The smells of fresh bread and spices filled her senses. She paused at a stall selling colorful ribbons, her small hands brushing them lightly. She watched the people around her, trying to spot anyone who might have known her mother. Each face seemed familiar yet distant, each voice a faint echo of hope. Suddenly, she saw an elderly woman struggling with a heavy basket. Without thinking, the girl ran forward and helped her. The woman's face brightened, her eyes softening. "Thank you, child," she said. "You have a kind heart." The girl smiled faintly. "I'm looking for someone," she said. "A woman who used to live here?" The elderly woman's brow furrowed. "Oh, many women have passed through this town. Can you tell me her name?" The girl shook her head. "I don't know if names matter. I just know she was good, and people liked her." The woman's expression softened. "Then you must be brave to search without a name. Follow your heart, little one. Sometimes it knows what the mind cannot see." The girl thanked her and continued walking, her resolve stronger than ever. Every step felt like she was moving closer to her mother, though she did not yet understand why she felt so sure. Back in the city, the billionaire had contacted a private investigator, a careful and experienced person who knew how to uncover hidden stories. "Find her," he said simply, "no matter where she is or what obstacles there are." The investigator began working immediately, following leads, checking records, speaking to anyone who might have information. Days passed with little progress, yet the billionaire refused to stop. The girl's face, small and serious, lingered in his mind, reminding him of the urgency he felt. The girl reached a quiet park at the edge of the city. She sat on a bench, looking at the trees swaying gently in the wind. She closed her eyes and imagined her mother walking toward her, the soft sound of her steps blending with the rustling leaves. Her fingers brushed the photograph in her bag. She whispered, "I will find you. I promise." A few blocks away, the investigator had uncovered a clue: a small town where the woman had been seen years ago. It was not far from the city, but it was a place that had remained hidden in plain sight. The billionaire read the report and felt a mix of relief and anxiety. He knew that finding her would not be simple. Life had moved on for both of them, and yet a connection remained. Fragile, but undeniable. The girl spent the next few days preparing herself. She collected some food, water, and essentials. She asked her aunt for a few coins and quietly explained that she needed to go on a journey. Her aunt hesitated, worried, but the girl's determination could not be denied. Finally, each step was heavy with hope and fear. She did not know if she would find her mother or what she would say when she did, but she knew she had to try. Somewhere along the path, answers waited, hidden in the winding streets, the quiet houses, and the hearts of people who remembered her mother. Inside the office, the billionaire prepared for his own journey. He had arranged transportation, checked contacts, and planned every step with precision. Yet there was an unease he could not shake. The search was not just professional, it was personal. The girl had stirred something in him, a reminder of what had been lost and what could still be found. The following morning, the girl boarded the train. She pressed the photograph against her chest one last time before tucking it safely inside her bag. The city faded behind her, replaced by the countryside, fields stretching endlessly, and towns she had never seen. Each mile brought her closer to a reunion she had dreamed of for years. The billionaire, meanwhile, was reviewing the investigator's notes. Each clue, each lead, felt like a heartbeat, pulsing with the possibility of discovery. He could not ignore the feeling that finding the woman and helping the girl was a chance to correct a story that had remained unfinished for far too long. As the train moved through the landscape, the girl watched the scenery, thinking about the life her mother had lived and the woman she had been. She imagined conversations, hugs, and explanations. She imagined answers to questions that had haunted her for as long as she could remember. And she imagined a future where fear and loneliness were replaced by warmth and understanding. The billionaire, sitting in his car, traveled in the opposite direction, following the leads carefully, knowing that every detail mattered. He thought about the girl who had appeared at his gate, about the courage it took to seek out someone who had been lost. He understood that this journey was not only about finding a person, it was about finding truth, compassion, and perhaps redemption. As evening approached, both the girl and the billionaire felt the weight of anticipation. Neither knew exactly what awaited them, but both sensed that their lives were on the verge of change. Somewhere ahead, paths would cross, stories would unfold, and the mystery that had lingered for years would begin to reveal itself in ways neither had imagined. The train slowed as it approached a small station. The girl's heart beat faster. She stepped down onto the platform, looking around at the quiet town. She could feel her mother's presence in the air, in the rhythm of the streets, in the warmth of the evening sun. She took a deep breath and began walking, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Miles away, the billionaire stopped his car near the outskirts of the same town. He looked at the streets and buildings, trying to envision the path that had led the woman here so long ago. He stepped out, letting the cool air fill his lungs, and began walking toward the unknown. Driven by determination and a sense of urgency he could not ignore, in that quiet town the stage was set. Two lives, connected by a photograph, a lost mother and a small girl's courage, were moving toward a meeting that could change everything. The past, long hidden, was finally coming into view, and the future, uncertain yet full of promise, awaited them both. The small town was quiet in the morning light. Birds chirped softly, and a gentle breeze moved through the trees, carrying the scent of fresh bread from a nearby bakery. The girl walked through the streets, her bag tightly held to her chest. She had arrived the night before and spent the evening planning her steps, thinking about the woman she hoped to find. Each street, each house, each doorway seemed alive with possibility. She had learned early on that hope was not enough. Action was required. So, she moved carefully, observing, asking questions, and listening. She stopped at a small cafe where an old man was sweeping the entrance. She approached him, timid but determined. "Excuse me," she said softly. "Do you know a woman who used to live here? She was kind and worked hard, and she had a daughter." The man looked up, his eyes narrowing as he thought. "Many women have passed through here, child. Can you tell me anything else?" The girl pulled the photograph from her bag and held it out. "This is her," she said. The old man studied the photograph carefully. Then he nodded slowly. "Yes, I remember her. She lived here a long time ago in a small house near the river. Quiet girl, always helping others, never caused trouble." The girl's heart leapt. "Do you know where she is now?" The man shook his head. "No, she left one day. Didn't say where she was going. People in town assumed she had family somewhere else. But the house near the river, that's where she stayed for a while." The girl thanked him and hurried toward the river. Her steps were light but quick, each movement filled with urgency. She could feel the closeness of her mother, though she did not know why. The town seemed familiar, as if it had been waiting for her arrival. Meanwhile, a few miles away, the billionaire had parked his car at the edge of the town. He stepped out and took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill his lungs. Every part of him was tense, alert. He knew the girl had traveled here, and he sensed that their paths were drawing closer. He walked slowly through the streets, asking quiet questions, showing photographs, and listening carefully. People remembered the woman he sought, and slowly, fragments of her life began to emerge. The girl arrived at a small, abandoned house by the river. Its paint was chipped, and the windows were dusty, but it had a quiet dignity. She stood in front of it, trembling slightly. She could feel the presence of someone who had lived there, someone who had loved her. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Inside, the air smelled faintly of old wood and time. Dust danced in the sunlight that filtered through the windows. She stepped carefully, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of her mother. Suddenly she heard a sound from upstairs. Footsteps, slow and deliberate. Her heart raced. Could it be her? She climbed the stairs cautiously, each step creaking beneath her weight. At the top, she paused, holding her breath. Then, she saw her a woman standing by the window, looking out at the river. Her face was as the photograph had shown, kind, strong, yet beautiful in a quiet way. The woman turned, sensing a presence. Her eyes widened as they met the girl's. Recognition flashed across her face, followed by a mixture of shock and joy. "Is it really you?" the woman whispered. The girl ran forward, throwing herself into her mother's arms. The embrace was long and full of relief, years of absence melting away in a moment. Tears flowed freely, mixing with laughter and whispered words. "I've been looking for you," the girl said, her voice breaking. "I never stopped believing." The woman held her tightly. "I never stopped loving you," she replied. "I thought you were safe, but I never wanted to be apart from you." They sat together on the floor, holding each other, sharing stories of the years spent apart. The girl spoke of her life, the struggles she had faced, and the courage that had led her here. The mother spoke of the reasons she had left, the challenges she had faced, and the hope she had kept alive that her daughter would find her one day. Meanwhile, the billionaire arrived in town, following the trail the girl had left. He walked through the streets, asking quietly if anyone had seen a little girl with a photograph. Soon he reached the river and saw the small house. Something inside him told him to approach cautiously. He stepped closer, then paused as he saw them, mother and daughter together, reunited. The sight stirred something deep within him, a mixture of awe, respect, compassion. The girl noticed movement outside and looked toward the window. She saw a man well-dressed, observing from a distance. Something about him felt familiar, though she could not yet place it. Her mother saw him too and instinctively stepped protectively in front of her daughter. The man, sensing the need for patience, stepped forward slowly, hands raised slightly in a gesture of peace. "I don't want to startle you," he said softly. "I am not here to harm. I only wish to help." The mother studied him carefully, weighing his words. Then she noticed the photograph he held, another copy of the same photo the girl had carried. Recognition crossed her face. "You know her?" the mother asked. "I have known her for a long time," the man replied, "and I want to make sure she is safe. I also want to understand to help if I can." The girl's eyes widened. She did not yet understand the full connection, but she sensed that this man was important, that he had been part of a story that had spanned years and continents. The mother nodded slowly, allowing him to come closer. He knelt down to speak to the girl, gently and kindly. "You were brave to find her," he said. "You have done something very special." The girl blushed, unsure what to say, but feeling the weight of her journey lift slightly. For the first time in years, she felt safe, surrounded by people who cared and wanted to see her happy. The mother, still holding her daughter, looked at the man with cautious gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "I do not fully understand yet, but I feel that you have played a part in this reunion." The man nodded. "I only hope that I can support both of you from here. There are things to explain, decisions to make, but for now, let this moment exist. You have found each other, and that is what matters most." They spent the rest of the day together, sharing stories, laughter, and tears. The girl showed her mother the photograph she had carried, and the mother explained the circumstances that had led her away. There were painful truths, but also moments of tenderness and love that bridged the gap of years. As evening fell, the three of them, mother, daughter, and the man who had quietly become a part of their story, sat by the river, watching the sun set over the water. The world felt calm and full of possibility. The journey that had begun with questions, longing, and uncertainty was now moving toward understanding, healing, and connection. And in the quiet of that small town, with the river reflecting the fading light, the girl realized that she had found more than her mother. She had found hope, courage, a sense of belonging that would guide her for the rest of her life. The next morning, the small town woke slowly. Sunlight spilled across the river, glinting off the water, and the gentle sound of birdsong filled the air. The girl woke early, feeling a sense of calm she had never known before. For the first time in years, she was not alone. Her mother slept nearby, and the presence of the man who had helped guide them gave her a strange reassurance. She quietly got up and walked to the window. The river looked calm and the streets were empty. She clutched the photograph she had carried for so long, thinking about the journey that had led her here. Every step, every moment of fear and uncertainty had brought her to this place. And now, finally, she felt a sense of hope that was real, solid, and unshakable. Her mother entered the room quietly, carrying a cup of warm tea. She handed it to her daughter with a soft smile. "You slept well?" she asked. The girl nodded. "Yes. I feel different," she said. "You should," her mother replied. You've done something very brave. You never gave up.
Oh.
The girl smiled faintly. I just wanted to find you. Her mother sat beside her, taking her hand gently. And now you have. We can face everything together from now on. Meanwhile, the man who had helped them had spent the night in thought. He had arranged for the girl's safety and made plans to support the mother as she adjusted to this sudden reunion. He was careful, knowing that trust had to be earned. He approached them quietly, making sure he did not intrude. Good morning, he said softly. The girl looked up and smiled. Good morning, she replied. Her mother nodded, acknowledging his presence. Thank you for everything, she said. Without you, we might not have found each other. He shook his head gently. You found each other because of your courage. I only helped guide the way. The day unfolded slowly, with conversations, stories, and shared memories. The girl spoke about the years she had spent waiting, wondering, and searching. Her mother shared the challenges she had faced, the decisions she had made, and the hopes she had held on to. The man listened quietly, adding support when needed, but mostly giving them space to reconnect. As the afternoon approached, the three of them decided to walk along the river. The girl's laughter echoed across the water, mingling with the gentle rustling of leaves. Her mother held her hand, feeling a connection that had been lost for too long, and the man walked beside them, watching with a quiet sense of satisfaction. He had seen many things in his life, many successes and failures. But this reunion felt different, real, human, and meaningful. They stopped at a small bridge overlooking the river. The girl leaned against the railing, looking down at the water. I can't believe I finally found you, she said. I thought I might never see you again. Her mother knelt beside her. I know, and I am sorry. But we are here now, and that is what matters. We can build our future together. The man stood a few steps away, observing quietly. He felt a strange warmth in his chest. For years, he had lived a life of precision, power, and control. But this reunion, this connection reminded him of what truly mattered in life. It was not wealth or influence, but the bonds we share, the love we give, and the courage to face the unknown. Evening came, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The three of them returned to the small house, sitting together as they shared a simple meal. Conversation flowed easily now, free of the tension and fear that had marked the early days of their reunion. The girl's laughter filled the room, and her mother's smile was bright and genuine. The man felt a quiet contentment. Knowing he had played a part in bringing them together as night fell, the girl lay in bed, holding her mother's hand. Do you think we'll be okay? She asked softly. Her mother kissed her forehead. We will be more than okay. We will be strong, together. And we will never be apart again. The man checked in one last time before leaving for the night, making sure they had everything they needed. He felt a sense of closure, knowing that this chapter of their lives had begun with courage and honesty, and that the future held endless possibilities. Days turned into weeks, and the girl and her mother began to settle into a life together. They explored the town, reconnected with neighbors, and shared stories with people who had known the mother in the past. The girl attended school nearby, making new friends, and slowly adjusting to a life filled with love and security. Her mother found work in the town, using her skills and experience to contribute to the community, all while nurturing the bond she had almost lost. The man continued to check in occasionally, offering guidance and support, but mostly allowing them to build their life without interference. He watched from a distance, quietly proud of the courage and resilience they had shown. He knew that wealth and power could buy many things, but they could not replace the strength of human connection, the joy of reunion, or the peace of a family restored. One afternoon, the girl and her mother sat by the river, skipping stones and laughing together. The girl looked up at her mother. I never want to forget this moment, she said. Her mother hugged her tightly. And you won't. We will remember every step that brought us here, every challenge we faced, and every victory we shared. The girl smiled, feeling a sense of completeness she had never known. She realized that her journey had not been just about finding her mother. It had been about discovering strength, courage, and the importance of never giving up hope. The man observing quietly from a distance, knew that this story was a rare and precious one. It was not about fame, wealth, or power. It was about people, about love, about the moments that truly define a life. And as the sun set over the river, casting its golden light across the town, he felt a quiet gratitude for having witnessed, and in some small way helped, the restoration of a family's heart. That night, as the stars appeared above, the girl and her mother sat together on the porch of their small home. They held hands, sharing stories, laughter, and dreams for the future. The journey that had begun with loss, uncertainty, and longing had ended with reunion, understanding, and hope. They had found each other, and in doing so, had discovered a strength that would carry them through whatever life might bring next. In the quiet of the night, with the river flowing gently nearby, the girl whispered, "We are finally home." Her mother smiled, tears in her eyes. "Yes, we are home, and we are together." And in that moment, the story that had begun with a missing mother, a small girl, and a distant billionaire came to a close, not with grand gestures, but with the quiet, enduring power of love, courage, and family. They had faced the unknown, braved fear and uncertainty, and emerged stronger, connected, and ready to embrace the future. Hand in hand, the morning sun rose slowly over the small town, casting long shadows along the cobblestone streets. The girl woke up with a feeling of anticipation. Even after weeks of being reunited with her mother, a new chapter of life was beginning. She dressed quickly, eager to start the day. Her mother was already in the kitchen, preparing breakfast, humming a soft tune that the girl had heard in her dreams but never before in reality. "Good morning," the girl said, her voice bright with excitement. "Good morning, sweetheart," her mother replied, smiling warmly. "Today is a new day, full of possibilities." Breakfast was quiet and simple, but filled with warmth. They talked about small plans, what they might do in the coming weeks, and how to adjust to their new life together. The girl's eyes sparkled with the feeling that everything at last was in its right place. After breakfast, the girl went outside to explore the town. She had grown familiar with the streets over the past few weeks, but now she wanted to see more. Every corner held a new discovery, a shop she had not noticed, or a quiet alley that led to a small hidden garden. She wandered, enjoying the sense of freedom and safety she had longed for during her years of searching. By midday, the billionaire arrived in town again. He had come to ensure that the family was settling in comfortably and to offer assistance if needed. When he reached the small house, he saw the girl playing by the river with her mother watching closely. The sight warmed his heart. He approached slowly, giving them space, but ready to step in if necessary. The girl noticed him first and waved. "Hello," she called out. Her mother smiled, nodding politely. "Hello, it's good to see you again." The billionaire walked closer. "You both look happy," he said, his voice calm and sincere. "That's all I wanted to see." They spent the afternoon together, walking along the river and exploring nearby meadows. The girl ran ahead, laughing freely, while her mother followed at a slower pace, her eyes filled with pride and relief. The man stayed slightly behind, observing quietly, feeling a sense of fulfillment he could not explain. As they returned home in the evening, the girl paused to look at the sky. The clouds were tinged with pink and orange, reflecting off the river. She felt a strange calm, a sense that life was steadying after so many years of uncertainty. Her mother placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said. The girl nodded. "It is. And I feel like everything is finally okay." Night came quietly over the town. Stars filled the sky, twinkling like tiny lanterns. The girl and her mother sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, watching the night sky. They shared stories of the past, laughter mingling with tears. Each tale brought them closer, building a bond that had been broken for too long, but was now stronger than ever. The billionaire, observing from a distance, felt a quiet satisfaction. He had been part of something larger than himself, something deeply human and profoundly important. He understood now that his life of precision and control had value, but it could never replace moments like this, the reunion of a family, the courage of a small girl, and the unwavering love of a mother. Over the following days, life settled into a comforting rhythm. The girl attended school, making friends, and adjusting to routines she had longed for. Her mother found meaningful work in the town, reconnecting with people who had once known her, and contributing to the community in small but significant ways. They both experienced moments of joy and laughter, punctuated by quiet evenings together where they simply existed as a family, connected and safe. The billionaire continued to check in occasionally, offering guidance and support when needed, but respecting their space. He saw them thrive and grow, their confidence and happiness increasing day by day. Watching them, he realized that the most valuable things in life were not possessions or wealth, but love, courage, and connection. One afternoon, the girl and her mother decided to take a long walk outside the town, along winding paths that led to fields filled with wildflowers. They ran, laughed, and collected flowers, feeling the freedom of the open space. The girl turned to her mother. "I never imagined life could be like this," she said. Her mother knelt beside her, taking her hand. "It's been a long journey, but we made it. And now, every day is a chance to create happiness together." As the sun began to set, casting golden light across the fields, the three of them, mother, daughter, and the man who had quietly become part of their story, sat together on a small hill, watching the colors of the sky deepen. They did not speak much. Words were unnecessary. The moment was full of understanding, gratitude, the promise of the future. That night, back at the small house, the girl wrote in her journal. She wrote about the journey she had taken, the people she had met, the courage it had taken to keep going, and the happiness she now felt. She wrote about her mother, her love, and the bond that had been restored. She wrote about the man who had helped guide them, whose presence reminded her that there were people in the world who cared deeply about others. As she finished writing, she placed the journal on her bedside table and looked at her mother, who was sitting nearby reading quietly. She felt a sense of peace she had never known. The long search, the fear, and the uncertainty had led to this moment of fulfillment, connection, and love. The man left for the night, knowing they were safe and that their lives were now filled with hope. He looked back one last time, seeing the warmth and security in their home, and smiled quietly. His work in this instance was complete not through grand gestures, but through support, patience, and understanding. In the quiet of the night, the girl and her mother lay side by side, holding hands. The past was behind them, the future full of possibilities. They had faced challenges, uncertainties, and fears, yet had emerged stronger and closer than ever. The bond between them, once broken, was now unbreakable, and they knew that nothing could take it away. The girl whispered softly, "Thank you for never giving up on me." Her mother kissed her forehead. "I never could, and I never will." As they drifted to sleep, the stars shone brightly above, silent witnesses to a story of courage, love, and reunion. Life had changed forever, and for the first time, the girl felt truly at home. Together, they had found strength, hope, and the unshakable certainty that love could overcome any obstacle. And in that small town, by the gentle river, a family began a new chapter, bound together by courage, patience, and the enduring power of human connection.